Alright, in my previous videos the lighting wasn't always great, so it was time to do something about it. I needed something that was fun to make, I could move it around to different locations, and I also wanted to be able to take it apart. So here's what I came up with. This strange tripod thing. The top part of it was made up of two sort of hexagons that would fit together and the light would rotate. So I started with that, came up with a cutting list, and then got to work. Now I'm sure if I looked on the internet I could have found some visually clever way of making a hexagon, then recorded it, passed it off as my own, and you'd have been really impressed. But instead I just decided to draw it on a piece and then cut the bits out. I suppose I could have just put a lot more lights in the workshop, but I'd already built these two storage areas that had brought the ceiling down, so you could say this is a really clever solution to a stupid problem that I created. Now it's not often I get help in, but this was just one of those occasions. So when my two boys aren't shooting themselves with Nerf guns, I try to get them in the workshop, just doing some marking out, sanding, basically using anything that hasn't got an expensive brand name on it. I extended the markings down the side of the panels, moved over to the crosscut sled, lined everything up, and then snip snip. We had made four kind of stretched hexagon shapes. So here I'm aligning the top of one section and the bottom of the other section. I want to then drill a hole through these two at the same place. Later on we put a bolt through here and a little winding handle, and this would allow the light to spin either way and then tighten it back up again. Time now to put lots of markings all over every piece. So this is basically for the dominoes to fit the uprights and the hexagon shapes. So for these two components I used the 40mm dominoes. In the upright pieces I set the domino to a depth of 25mm. I then dropped it back down to a depth of 15mm for the hexagon pieces, just so it wouldn't blow through the back of the 18mm MDF. I resisted the urge to buy a domino for a number of years, but to be honest I wish I'd done it a bit earlier. I really like the way you can dry fit your projects together in a really sturdy way, check that you're happy with everything, and then dismantle it again and carry on with the work. I will be doing some videos with hand cut joinery in the future, but at the moment when you only get 2 days a week to do your woodwork, if I spent all Sunday just cutting some mortise and tenons by hand, I'd probably end up divorced. I was now happy that the top sections fit together, worked how I thought they would, so I could put those aside and start thinking about how to join the legs. I came up with this idea that I'm going to call the twist lock domino. So here's what I did. I changed the dominoes up to the 50 by 10mm size. I then set the adjustment on the domino to about 25mm so that I could effectively create a through mortise in a test piece. I then adjusted it back down to 15mm to put a domino in another scrap piece of wood. So we had a 15mm recess, an 18mm board, and that adds up to, well, let's just say I was pretty confident there would be quite a bit sticking out the end. Then I drilled a pilot hole through one of the dominoes with a small countersink. I fit the domino back in, then fixed the whole thing together, and then I grabbed one of my flush trim saws and snipped the end off so we had a nice clean finish. So now we're left with a domino with a bit lobbed off the end, but it has two holes on each piece that match up perfectly. So I grabbed one of my Craig screws and started to put these two pieces back together. And hey presto, we had a domino where the top of it will twist and lock in against the face of the workpiece. It's quite simple and crude, but I was shocked at how well it actually worked, and it seemed to kind of lock the place in position and make for a nice strong joint. So I was happy this was definitely going to work for this project, and it meant that I could take the legs apart, fold it all up and pack the light away when I wasn't using it. Now it was a case of just lining up on the actual workpieces where this through mortise was going to be, setting it all up, making the cut. I gave everything then a quick sand and a lick of paint, and it was ready to start putting this together for the last time. Right, time to start thinking about those legs next. I didn't want to just trust the drawings on these, I wanted to actually see what the angles looked like. I cut some boards to 1.5 meters in length and then started ripping the pieces into 250mm sections. While these pieces were still square, I marked out all the joinery where the legs would meet the top section. Then it was a case of marking out the tapered angles. I tried a few out and then just settled on an angle that I thought looked quite nice. Now if this project was made out of walnut, I probably would have worked out how to maximise the materials. But it was Sunday, it was hot, and there was a beer in the fridge with my name on it. So I just whipped out the track saw and made one leg out of each of the sections. Next, the dog just appeared out of nowhere. So at that stage I just moved over to the bandsaw and started cutting out the right angle pieces. You don't often hear about earthquakes in Buckinghamshire, but this problem's real. Here's some video footage. Now the legs are all cut to shape, I grabbed a spare piece where I'd cut the same right angle spacing and started working out where I was going to put the twisting lock domino. This seemed to work, so I used the same rough piece, transferred it over to the legs and started marking these out, replacing all the holes. After some glue, a good whack with a hammer, a bit of sanding, a bit of paint, these were pretty much done, and it was time to start looking at the light. So after a bit of searching around, I found these really cool looking lights on Amazon, and they were 6,000 lumen. And we all know that a lumen is... did I mention they look really cool? I marked out a central location on the top section, did a little bit of basic wiring, a couple of screws, and this bad boy was ready to put together. So here it is, all the finished components together. It was time to test it out and put it all together, but for safety reasons I chucked on some summer gear. Well, I'm going to call that a home win. I was really happy with this. The light was really good, it moved around easy. Time to see if I could dismantle it and pack it away quickly. So there we have it. YouTube lights, job done. Not bad. See you all next time.